Looking to find out what's happening on the NDSU campus? Watch Bison Information Network News every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on Cable 1 Channel 70. This student-run weekly newscast covers relevant news and current events, entertainment, Bison sports, and more. Watch BIN News Fridays at 9 p.m., Saturdays at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., and Sundays at 9 a.m. on Cable 1 Channel 70.
Bison Information Network News is brought to you in partnership with Cable 1.
Welcome to another edition of X's and O's. I'm Jay Lennader.
And I'm Eric Bunnell.
And we got plenty to cover today with a lot going on in the sports world. We'll be talking about Bison football, of course. Then we'll be taking a look around the NFL and ending up with talking about the World Series, which starts right after this broadcast ends. But first, let's start talking about that Bison football game. No college game day, unfortunately, but the game still did happen. And it was very favorable towards the Bison for most of it.
Yeah, for most of it. The first three quarters, the Bison dominated. But I'd say the last 16 minutes or so, Illinois State kind of took over that game. And it was like, where's this Bison defense? It was like, is it going to be another Northern Iowa game, 56-31? And I know it was 28-14. But I feel like Illinois State took that long to feel out the Bison because they were throwing in so many different schemes to slow down the momentum, because they had a couple big wins, a couple FBS wins. I know they're number 7, but it just felt like a big. The score felt like it was a much larger deficit than what the score actually indicates.
Mm-hmm. And it was a very strange situation through most of the game because the Bison looked firmly in control for a large portion of it, but then, as you said, Illinois State started to look like they were mounting a comeback, and things really got a little scary for the Bison there for a while. But in the end, they did come out with it, and we saw some particularly big performances from certain players, such as Darius Shepard maybe having the biggest game of his career through the air. What did you see from the Bison offense? Because really a lot of people were talking about this being a defensive matchup, including us last week. What did you see from the Bison offense that really separated themselves from the Redbirds? I
saw it more like kind of like a JMU game last year where they got up big. They got up 17. They didn't get up 17-3 unlike JMU game. They got up 28-0. Then all of a sudden they kind of felt like they took their foot off the gas. And it was just like, okay, we're up 28-0. Do we really want to run up the score? And the offense just kind of took the foot off the gas and they called more they just called a basic simple offense. And that's not a shot at Courtney Messingham or anything like that. They don't want to give away all their big plays in a game where they're up 28-0. So why would you burn like a flea flicker in a 28-0 game where you could use it when you're down 10-7, especially with that Bison running game, because you never know what they're going to do. Because that run game, yeah, they got held to, I think it was just over 200 yards on the ground, but they still, or just under 200, excuse me. They still had a heck of a game on the ground. Lance Dunn, I know he had to shoulder a lot of the load because Bruce Anderson was out with a hamstring injury. Easton Stick stepped up again. Ty Brooks. Dallas Freeman, he had a jet sweep touchdown. We haven't seen that in a while.
No, we haven't. And we did see a lot of mix-up. But one thing that sort of stood out against the Bison was that Illinois State's running game was very effective, and that James Robinson for the Redbirds really had a big game on the ground, over 100 yards, 128 to be exact. But looking past this game now, because this was kind of, as we have talked about over the past couple of weeks, this was the last really big game that we were looking forward to with the Bison, and they came out with another win. Do you think the Bison go undefeated up through the playoffs? And then what do you think maybe would happen there from what you've seen so far?
From what I've seen, it suggests that they go undefeated. They're taking a 13-game win streak into the upcoming game against South Dakota in South Dakota. And 2 years ago, yes, they had Chris Strebler, 28-21. It was a very close game, very competitive. And then last year, the Bison blew them out like 49-14 or something like that. It was bad. But I do think knock on wood, that they can run the table through the rest of the regular season, because they have South Dakota, Youngstown State. They go on the road to Missouri State, who's a very tricky team. They're kind of an up-and-down team. And then they end the season with Southern Illinois. And I think 3 out of those 4, I think the only tough game that's even going to be within, let's say, 3 scores, I think is going to be the South Dakota game. in South Dakota, or even Missouri State, their last 2 road games. I think those two will be their toughest games to date. Like, they'd be the toughest games down the stretch because Youngstown State, they got beat by non-scholarship Butler, who NDSU plays at Target Field next year in 2019, and tickets go on sale November 8th, special pre-sale, and you can only order them through the Minnesota Twins. But anyways, I think they run the table, and I think their bracket is going to be favorable. I think JMU is going to be put on the other side. I think they're going to get the 3. There's no way you want NDSU, JMU on the same side. Yeah, I understand you want that rowdy atmosphere in the Fargo Dome, but if you're the NCAA, you want that matchup in Frisco because that's the 2 best teams right now.
Mm-hmm. Barring any upset.
Yeah,
barring any. You could see someone go
in the
down
FCS, in the FCS right now, it's the top 10. You could just crinkle up your paper right after week because it's so bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's true.
Yeah, I mean, Kennesaw State played it right. They had a bye. They only lost 1 game. Eastern Washington lost. South Dakota State lost to Northern Iowa 24-9. But I mean, it's just a crapshoot right now on who's going to be. It's like I said last week. It's NDSU and everybody else.
Mm-hmm. And that definitely stands true. And if you're the Bison, one thing you got to be thinking about now is, of course, you've got some easier matchups. You're looking at these games that almost would be seen as foregone conclusions. However, you still got to play the games, and you still got to win. And so let's talk about injuries for a second, because in this sort of, say, garbage time, these last couple games where you still got to round it out, you still got to get some wins, we've seen some key Bison players in past years go down. Nate Tangway not
2 years
year,
ago.
2 years ago, yes. Tangway goes down 2 years ago. We've seen this part of the season kind of be a danger zone for some key injuries. What do you think the Bison have to do to stay healthy? It's not worth talking about the importance of staying healthy, because obviously, but what do you think they have to do in terms of like balancing using the players they need to win with keeping people fresh going down the road?
I think if you're the Bison, you got to balance the workload for Bruce Anderson, Lance Dunn, and Ty Brooks. Those are your 3 main backs that you're going to need coming down the stretch. And you obviously got to keep Easton Stick healthy. I mean, I know behind him we have Noah Sanders, Holden Hotchkiss, and Trey Lance. Trey Lance can absolutely play. That dude showed off his speed in the second game of the year, the 44-yard touchdown run. But I feel like they just have to balance how you use them, whether it be putting in an Adam Cofield at running back for a few plays to kind of give Lance, Bruce, Ty a blow. I know they're hoping Seth Wilson can come back, and if he can come back for the playoffs, the Bison play in the second round, quarterfinals, semifinals, and championship game. That's 4 games, and he still has a red shirt that he can use. So he could still be redshirted and come back as a sophomore. Right now, he's considered a sophomore, but he could be a redshirt sophomore next year and have 2 years of experience under your belt after you lose Lance Dunn and Bruce Anderson. I mean, how do you play that? And Coach Kleiman alluded to it in his press conferences. They're starting to play some true freshmen on special teams to give guys like Robbie Grimsley a blow, Jabril Cox, James Hendricks, all the key guys that they need, Jalen Allison, Jalen Wimbush, all the guys that they need. He's starting to give them a blow on special teams because they're out there so much.
Mm-hmm. And you're talking about the key players. Out of all the players on the Bison, who is the most important in your mind to stay healthy? Maybe let's disclude Easton Stick.
Okay,
obviously the quarterback is important. Who outside of Stick must stay healthy for this Bison team to win another championship?
I can give you 3. I'll give you 1 on offense, defense, and special teams. Offense, outside of Stick, Darius Shepard. You need Darius Shepard. That dude is an explosive playmaker as he showed. He had 236 all-purpose yards this past game, 126 through the air, 6 catches, 103 return yards, and a 7-yard rush. They need him to stay healthy. Yes, he's been getting some IVs at halftime and going a little early, but it's totally fine, normal. Dude's running all over the place. Mm-hmm. Defense, you need Jabril Cox. I'd say defense is 1A and 1B. You need Jabril Cox and you need Robbie Grimsley. That dude played through a hamstring injury against Western Illinois. And yes, they lost redshirt freshman safety Michael Tutti. They didn't lose him for the year, but he's out. He was out last week, and he could potentially be out this week. Didn't hear anything about him at Monday's press conference. But and then special teams, I think you need Garrett Wagner to hold up. That dude can punt.
Yeah.
He had a nice, I think they were at the 40 when he pinned him down at the 1.
Yeah, something like that.
He just let it roll, and Pat McAfee would have been proud. Anybody who doesn't know that, you should look him up. He's pretty funny on Twitter. Yeah, at the 1 yard line, you need him to be healthy. You need those 4 players to be healthy in order for you to be successful. Also, Greg Menard's got to stay healthy, too, for that defense.
Yeah, I think Greg Menard's really been one of sort of the underlooked players so far for the Bison. He's been all over the place, getting sacks, approaching records, breaking records, and whatnot. But, yeah, it's going to be an interesting road for the Bison for the rest of the way, because obviously you want to sort of balance out being optimistic and saying, oh, yeah, they've got it this year, before you end up having to face James Madison in the semis and losing in the Fargo Dome like they did 2 years ago or whatnot. But there's sort of this balance. You want to say, oh, yeah, they're going to get to Frisco and then maybe they'll face a challenge. But there are still games still left to be played, and anything can happen, especially once you go on the road outside the Fargo Dome.
I mean, not to throw it off football, not throw it off Bison football, but take a look at the Warriors. They were 24-0, and they're like, oh, we're going to go into Milwaukee and beat them. Milwaukee came in and stunned them.
Yep.
I mean, that's why you got to play the game. You can't get too high. I've learned from experience watching my high school football team when I was younger. It was like they were undefeated. We're going to go win state. Second round of the playoffs, came up, got smacked in the mouth, and got beat. I mean, it sucks. So you got to be able to play the game one game at a time. And I know this senior class is hungry for that undefeated season for the first time since 2013, I believe it was, when they had that 33-game win streak over 3 seasons. I mean, that was just incredible. But you got to play the game. You can never count out who's going to come up because Missouri Valley's proven anybody can be beaten on any given day.
Yep, the higher you fly, the farther you can fall down.
Exactly.
And is there anything else about this Bison team as it stands right now that really is standing out to you as like noteworthy on this path to the championship? Is there anything that's really just you don't think has seen enough coverage?
I don't think so, but I think they just got to avoid being stagnant. The defense, I feel like, just from watching them, this is just a fan point of view now, just standing at the game, I feel like that defense was like, we're up 28-0. Like, you want to hold that shutout, obviously. They just couldn't tackle James Robinson, but that's because a lot of people couldn't tackle him. And I mean, Coach Kleiman alluded to that. Not many people can tackle him in the open field, and the Bison struggled to do that when they scored their first touchdown. It was kind of like a garbage time touchdown, 28-7. But that game was the score was a lot closer than what the game indicates. The game indicates the Bison were blowing them out. Illinois State just had a lot of big chunk yardage plays, but they just got to avoid being stagnant. And somebody's got to, if you're NDSU, nobody's going to cover Darius Shepard because nobody's really covered him. I mean, you'll take that all day long. You put him in the slot and let him beat a cornerback for a corner route right across the middle or a post route. You'll take it, throw him on a fly. He'll catch it.
And, of course, this upcoming weekend on the road, South Dakota, in Vermilion. What is your key to the game for the Bison looking at this matchup?
They have to shut down the high-flying offense of South Dakota. Yes, they don't have Chris Traveler last year, who's playing up in the CFL. But their quarterback right now, he's still pretty dang good. He can still throw the ball around. They have plenty of weapons. They have plenty of pass catchers on the outside. That line looks pretty good. They can score with the best of them. South Dakota's kind of turned into a Big Sky team with just the spread offense. They're just throwing it all over the place. But I feel like the defense and the secondary is going to be key to this game. And hopefully they can get Michael Tutsi back, and hopefully Robbie Grimsley's healthy. And if Bruce Anderson's not available to go, Lance Dunn knows he's going to have to shoulder the workload a little more. But I think we'll see more of Adam Cofield in the backfield this week, along with Lance, Ty, and Easton.
Well, we'll continue to give you the NDSU season updates as it continues, hopefully talking about extensively into the playoffs once we get there. But next, we're going to be taking a quick break and then coming back to you to talk about what's going on in the NFL. We'll be right back. Conveniently located across the street from NDSU's campus, Herd and Horns is the place to go, whether you're looking for a fantastic meal or just a quick bite to eat.
Hi, welcome to Herd and Horns. Are you from the drink right away?
With friendly staff and excellent service, it's a restaurant for all ages. Herd and Horns, your home for great food and Bison sports.
Welcome to Bison Block. If you are an NDSU student, you know it well. It's located right across the street from campus. How would you like to live in the same building as Starbucks, Jimmy John's, and Herd and Horns? Bison Block offers high-quality apartments at a very affordable price. For more information, go to our website at bisonblockfargo.com to apply today.
Welcome back, everyone, to X's and O's. We're now going to be shifting to talking about the NFL. And Eric, what are your thoughts about the NFL so far this season?
I mean, so far, I think the Chiefs, to me, are in the AFC. I believe they're the team to beat. I know New England beat them, but that was in New England. I still think Kansas City maybe gets one more loss. I know the Patriots are going to come up with some more losses, and I know because I know that's just New England. They're going to find a way to lose a game, even though they're 1-2 and somehow beat the Chicago. They were 1-2 and now they're 4-2 or 5-2, and they somehow beat the Chicago Bears. But in the AFC, I think the Chiefs, that offense is scary. And in the NFC, the Rams, it's their division to lose with that high-powered offense. Jared Goff finally got it under control. But we still have yet to see them win a playoff game. I know last year was the first game, and they're playing in LA, and they played the Falcons, and yeah. You could say the Falcons are the high-powered offense too, but that defense is scary. I mean, it's going to be interesting, but I just don't know. I mean, there's so many good teams that are losing. There's too many ties in the NFL. They need to get rid of that tie rule.
It just means they need to put an extra couple minutes on the overtime.
I mean,
just give them an extra drive.
What's the stop? Why is it stopping you from playing another overtime? Like, who cares? Give them the ball at the 25. Make it like a college rule and give them the ball at the 25. Stop us.
I mean, I guess the biggest thing, just as it is that they're concerned about just the TV scheduling. So then it's like it wouldn't be even for, say, the Sunday night game where they could run as long as they wanted, where these other games are trying to get as many broadcasts. And that was the one thing that made me the angriest. I was watching the Dolphins game from not this week, but last week.
Oh, the Dolphins-Bears game.
Yeah, the Dolphins-Bears game where it was in overtime, and Miami had just stopped Chicago, and then Kurt Menefee comes out, and he's like, due to NFL ruling, we can no longer show you the rest of this game. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And I turned off the TV and went and did homework because that was all I cared about.
I mean, yeah, the NFL is just, who cares?
Yeah.
Let the games run a little long. So what if you screw up a little bit of TV? So what if somebody misses 5 minutes of Big Bang Theory? Are they really going to care?
Well, it's not even that.
It's a rerun.
It's NFL programming. It's like them talking about the games. That's it.
Yeah, so who cares? No one's going to miss if you don't get to listen to Kurt Menefee or other people or Tony Romo talk about games. No one's going to care. They'd rather watch the ending to a very exciting game. No one's going to care.
Yeah. Now we're starting to edge into like stuff, whole net of stuff to talk about, like, advertisements and blah, blah, blah. I got to fit everything in. But, yeah, the product is suffering because of some of these rules. And I don't think it's something we see a change to this year. I think it's something that will have to be looked at next year because there's just been some garbage in regards to these overtime games. We've never seen this many overtime games ending in such weird ways because it always comes down to the end. It's never just one pass and a touchdown and whatnot. It's always just one team drives, they get stopped, the other team drives back, they miss a field goal, the other team drives back and either hits or misses a field goal, and then the game's over at that.
What is there, like 6 or 7 overtime games this
There's
year?
been so many. It's hard to count, and that's the problem. Usually it's only like 1 or 2 overtime games like within an entire half a season. This year we've been seeing some like multiple overtime games in one block of television that we see like 2 teams playing at 12, both go to overtime and both, have the game end up the same way. Maybe part of it is that they say field goals don't count anymore. You got to score a touchdown or something like that. So it's
I think there's some of these overtime games that could have been prevented. And I know you and I can both agree of one off the top of our head.
Yeah.
That shouldn't even happen, and there shouldn't even be a tie in the Vikings and the Packers shouldn't even be tied atop the division. It should be Green Bay sitting up top because of that Clay Matthew roughing the passer penalty.
Yeah, I mean, but that's a whole different thing.
Yeah,
it's not the overtime's fault. That's a play in regulation that sort of just messed everything up. It's how it got there, but most of these games, even if you do see a play that like puts them there, it's about getting to overtime, and then the overtime's only so exciting because it's like, okay, you're just sitting there waiting for a field goal to happen.
I think if you're gonna go overtime instead of the 10, I think you go back to 15.
I mean,
I feel like that would have solved so many problems.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Minnesota wasn't it like 3rd and 2 when they kicked it with 3 seconds left?
Yeah,
it wasn't even 4th
and
out.
It usually isn't.
And they go. You have an extra 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. You're going for a touchdown there.
Well, yeah.
I mean, and then you're probably gonna score. Green Bay loses. Whatever. It happened. There's no tie.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, Cleveland, blocked field goal. No tie.
Because you can easily find a way to just prevent ties in general. That if you go to overtime, you can find a way to finish the game. Even if your TV rules like prevent you from seeing it, the game will end in a way that's not someone missing a field goal and everyone goes home unhappy. Like the players, the fans,
they always said,
everyone does not want to see a game go 10 minutes extra, and then the big conclusion is someone missing a field goal.
To me, a tie's always been like kissing like a relative. It's pointless. It's stupid. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like the worst thing in the NFL. College doesn't even let teams end in a tie. So why should the NFL? Is college better than the NFL?
Imagine if the NBA went to tie. They just stopped. You go over the end of the first overtime. We're done.
Yeah, we're done. We're just gonna stop playing.
James Harden puts up a 3-point shot with the time runs out. He misses it. Okay, we're done.
Yeah, we're done
here. There's no more game. We couldn't possibly play the game any longer. Yeah.
I mean,
because this is the only place we see this happen. Hockey got a shootout. Soccer got a shootout. Baseball just one next point
play
wins.
Extra innings, and there's been a lot of long games this past year.
But for some reason, the NFL, along with all the other issues they've been having, just decided if the game goes too long, we're just gonna have it end.
Yeah. Well,
it doesn't matter if some people win. We're just gonna make it hard for the graphics people who have to add an extra 1 on the end. There's gonna be rough prediction here.
Oh boy.
There's going to be a team that ends up with 2 ties this season, and they're going to have to put like a 6-8-2 on them.
Is that a bold prediction?
Maybe. I don't know.
Is that a hot take right now?
That's maybe a hot take. I don't really know how things have been going. I don't know how hot of a take it is. Like it seems like something that you got to expect.
Out of the 4 teams who have 2 ties, or who have 1 tie, Green Bay, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, who ends up with the 2nd tie.
Cleveland's just asking for it, which makes me want to say it's going to be Pittsburgh.
They play each other this week again, by the way.
Yes, they do it to each other. They both have 2 ties. Oh, that's poetic. That
would be like the greatest storyline.
Watch. You know what? Let's not stop there. Watch the Vikings and Packers tie again, like when it counts.
No, I would throw something. I was so mad when they tied.
Yeah, it could, but the point is that there's a problem, and who knows how to stop it.
Yeah, who knows?
It's not gonna be resolved this year, and I mean it's something that's been around for a while. It's just been exacerbated by the fact that so many games have been going to overtime this year. And
I mean, if it's a preseason game, who cares?
Yeah.
Preseason, I think they can let them end in a tie. Like they're just.
Yeah. Preseason
when
the games don't matter, you can end in a tie and no one will.
No one's gonna care. Okay, we got to see our.
Okay, we
got to see our third.
The players.
Yeah, we got to see our 3rd string quarterback Tim Boyle throw a touchdown pass to Jake Kumaro or somebody else, or some 4th string wide receiver that didn't make the practice squad.
Yeah. To his credit, though, Kyle Sloter's out there slinging at the end of the 4th quarter in those preseason games.
That's true.
He's not letting it go to a tie.
No, he's not. He's just gonna throw it all around and be like, "This ain't in a tie."
Yeah, but it's something that needs to be changed. But let's go back to focusing on the actual games themselves, because there are still teams playing and winning and losing. And we've seen a lot of stuff that some of it's been pretty predictable. Like I think the Chiefs were sort of an unpredictability just because it's like, okay, they changed quarterbacks.
Yep.
Pat Mahomes coming in, you were going off of his preseason record. but not what he was actually like. He played in the game, but he didn't have any real reference on it. So it was a risk, but that paid off. He looks just like he did in the preseason games, and he's great. And that team is scary now. But you mentioned this earlier, when you look at the two teams that are far and away above everyone else right now, the Chiefs and the Rams. These are two teams that are known to blow it when it comes to the playoffs. The Chiefs have made it to the playoffs probably for the past 4 or 5 years. They lose the first round every time. They cannot get it done in the playoffs when it counts. Is that an Alex Smith thing? Do you think Patrick Mahomes is really going to change the Chiefs and how they operate? Because Andy Reid is still the coach there, and he's the one calling the plays, and he's been there every time they've been losing in the playoffs. Do you think that Pat Mahomes is really the one who's going to come in and change things for the Chiefs and take them all the way to the Super Bowl? Because if they keep playing the way they are, it's going to be hard to stop them once you get to the playoffs.
I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to change it. I still think you got to have experience in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, a lot of that team last year was on that roster a year ago when they lost to the Steelers. No, who did they lose to?
Oh, last year?
Yeah, I can't remember. They lost.
I think it was the Patriots, right? Because then it was like a rematch.
Yeah, they played the Patriots, and the Patriots played the Jags, and Patriots beat the Jags.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna get to the AFC Championship game, but as we all know, 3 things that are guaranteed in life: death, taxes, Patriots making the AFC Championship game. Mm-hmm. I think they're gonna lose to the Patriots. I hope the Chiefs win. I want the Chiefs to win because I'm sick of seeing New England in the Super Bowl. I have to see a big game out of Mahomes. He's shown that he can do it in Sunday primetime. Yeah, he blew out the Bengals, but who knows what to make of the Bengals? They're 4-3.
Yeah.
He should have lost the game against Denver. That play clock was at 0, and that catch he has that throw that he makes doesn't even count, and Denver goes on to win 20-16. But I think as of right now, I think the Chiefs are going to blow it because Andy Reid is calling the plays. I know he's had some success, but Pat Mahomes hasn't played in the playoffs. And going into the playoffs, it's a whole different atmosphere.
Yeah. And so across the NFL, we have seen some very similar things like the Rams and the Saints kind of at the top of the NFC. But we have also seen some surprises coming from the bottom. Who is your surprise team in the NFL so far? What team has come out and surprised you the most compared to where you thought they were going to be?
The Jaguars.
Really?
We're 2-1, coming out fresh off a win against New England. Now they lost 3 straight. They're 3-4. Mm-hmm. Going over to London and probably going to get beat by Carson Wentz and the Eagles. I mean, that's just my prediction. But and they also did just promote rookie linebacker Nick DeLuca, who's an NDSU alum, to their active roster in favor of over Jamal Charles. So, I mean, who knows? That team right now is just so. Everybody's coming in. The Jaguars are going to be good. The Patriots are going to be good. The Chiefs, we don't know what's going to happen in the AFC South. Broncos, well, you never know. Chargers are right there. But the Jaguars are just so bad lately, and I don't know why.
I mean, yeah.
Is it Jalen Ramsey talking all that trash about all those quarterbacks, and then those quarterbacks should be like, yeah, you ain't going to phase us. We're going to go out and destroy you?
Maybe. I mean, a big part of it, and I think this is really maybe part of it is that the defense, it just doesn't seem to have that spark that it had last year. It's not the same defense. I think the biggest thing is that Leonard Fournette's been out.
That's true.
Because he was such a big part of what they're doing. Even though the numbers on paper don't look as flashy as some other people, he is the core of that offense. Blake Bortles can get by because he knows he's got that absolute tank next to him who can get as many yards as he wants. And the fact that he's been out for so long, and we don't know how long he's going to be out. They traded for Carlos Hyde as a contingency plan, and that's going to be like a thunder.
That's going to be like a 1-2 punch right there.
Yeldon and Hyde are good. They're not Fournette though, and I think that's really where at least for me, I think that's been the biggest problem for the Jaguars. Their offense has been able to do nothing. Blake Bortles doesn't look anything like how he looked last year.
That's why he got
benched
of Fournette. For Kessler.
Yeah.
Blake Bortles was good in college because that offense could run. His receivers were good. Now he's got no wide receivers. They let Allen Hurns go. Who else did they let go? I know they only have D.D. Westbrook.
They lost Robinson and Hurns.
Allen Robinson. Mercedes Lewis left.
Marquise Lee is hurt.
Marquise Lee's hurt. That doesn't help me either. But that defense is just getting torched.
Yep. And we'll talk about my surprise team quickly. Honestly, I think in terms of surprises, some people have been saying the Bears, but there were rumblings about the Bears beforehand. Maybe say the
Bears weren't good until they got Khalil Mack.
Yeah. I mean, that really elevated them.
That elevated their defense.
And that's why they traded for Khalil Mack, because people were saying, this Bears team, they got some interesting draft picks. Their offense is probably going to look okay, and they might be able to hang around as a wild card team. Now with Khalil Mack, it's a whole different deal. But some people saw that coming. Some people saw the Chargers coming because they've been hanging around for previous years as a wild card team. Phillip Rivers, the veteran leader. My surprise team, just based on record and what I've seen, is the Miami Dolphins. They took a game with Brock Osweiler at quarterback. Brock Osweiler has been throwing for over 200 yards a game. When Tannehill's in there, I mean, they've got a good record, and they've sort of supplanted the Bills as that second team in the AFC East this year. Because the Jets, they're okay, but they're working things out. Darnold is still kind of sporadic, as any Vikings fans saw this past week. The Dolphins are that second team now, and they're in the wild card hunt if they keep winning some games. It's dependent on Tannehill's health, because I think Osweiler having some good games is interesting, but it's not long-lasting. It's not going to carry them through the year. Tannehill comes back, though. This is a strange team. They've got some fire to them. Frank Gore, the old man, is carrying that ball for him like it was 2012, you know?
Yeah, Frank Gore's having a heck of a year.
Pairing him with Kendrick Drake, that's a good backfield for some reason.
Thunder lightning.
Yeah, they're for some reason, this weird team has something going for them. Yes, they have like some problems with Devontae Parker and whatnot with that situation, but this team, it's weird. And this is why I think it's my surprise team, because I did not think they were going to do anything this year. And I definitely think they're the second best team behind the Patriots this year in the AFC East. And they could be looking at a wild card game, which I did not think was going to happen.
I got to agree with you there. The Dolphins are probably the one team that I would be like, oh, they're going to be bad. That surprised me. And the Jags was a team that I thought was going to be good.
Yeah.
And now they're bad. But that's in the AFC. Now the NFC. Let's talk about the Super Bowl champs, the Eagles. Win their first game. I think they won their second. Carson comes back. They're on a 2-game losing streak. They gave up 21 points to a Cam Newton-led team.
Yeah, can't go Cam.
Cam Newton, who couldn't even beat the Washington Redskins.
Not to mention on a 21 straight point comeback.
Yes, 21 straight points. The Eagles couldn't. Their defense, that was so superb last year, couldn't stop Cam.
Couldn't stop Cam. He's rolling. Another team I didn't think was going to do much this year, the Panthers. And I like the Panthers. I've liked them for a while just because of their color scheme. I think they got a good jersey. So I've always got
my fiance with the color scheme.
I've always got a soft spot for the Panthers. So they've been surprising because that offense it hasn't looked good, but they've been able to win some games despite it. But the Eagles, yeah, I mean their defense looked like it was only going to get better because they added.
They look like a college defense.
They added Bennett.
Yeah.
And they didn't really take much away. I
mean,
besides like Patrick Robinson.
Yeah, now they just lost Derek Barnett, their other defensive end, with a season-ending shoulder surgery, if I can talk. They just look so bad.
Yeah.
You have 3 capable backs in the backfield. Darren Sproles, Wendell Smallwood, Corey Clement. All 3 were good in college. All 3 have proven themselves in the NFL. I mean, why aren't you using them more? Why aren't you throwing to them? You have capable wide receivers, Alshon, Zach Ertz, Aguilar. Dallas Goedert's starting to transform into something. I know he's a South Dakota State product, but I don't care. He's doing something with his life in the NFL. He's doing something, and he's actually being productive in the NFL.
Yeah, they just throw their tight ends, and that's it.
In another team that I want to this is a coach that I'm going to take a look at. Mike McCarthy. Why aren't you using Aaron Jones? That dude is so explosive. 6 carries for 42 yards. And you're using Jamal Williams, who's getting you 3.3 yards per attempt, where Aaron Jones is getting 6. I understand he's not the best pass blocker, but he's the more explosive player. Yeah. Why aren't you using him?
Well, that's about enough Packers talk for me to handle personally. And we're going to be right back talking about the World Series. We're going to be coming right back to you with some good stuff, some real good analysis of this big market matchup when we come back.
Looking to find out what's happening on the NDSU campus? Watch Bison Information Network News every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on Cable One Channel 70. This student-run weekly newscast covers relevant news and current events, entertainment, Bison sports, and more. Watch BIN News Fridays at 9 p.m., Saturdays at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., and Sundays at 9 a.m. on Cable One Channel 70.
Bison Information Network News is brought to you in partnership with Cable One.
Conveniently located across the street from NDSU's campus, Herd & Horns is the place to go whether you're looking for a fantastic meal or just a quick bite to eat.
Hi, welcome to Herd & Horns. Are you from the drink right away?
With friendly staff and excellent service, it's a restaurant for all ages. Herd & Horns, your home for great food and Bison sports. Welcome to Bison Block. If you are an NDSU student, you know it well. It's located right across the street from campus. How would you like to live in the same building as Starbucks, Jimmy John's, and Herd & Horns? Bison Block offers high-quality apartments at a very affordable price. For more information, go to our website at bisonblockfargo.com to apply today.
Welcome back, everyone, and now we're going to be shifting away from all the football we've been talking about and shift onto the World Series, which will be starting right after we're broadcasting here. So that just gives you a bit of a frame of reference of where we're coming at during this conversation. Two huge market teams from each of the coasts, Red Sox and Dodgers. Big market matchup. ESPN's got to be licking their chops at the prospect of these two teams going at each other. It's going to be a big viewership World Series, and a very interesting one as well, because starting with the pitching matchup in Game 1 tonight, Chris Sale and Clayton Kershaw, two of the best left-handed pitchers, not only in baseball right now, but will be on lists of historical best left-handers of all time, these two going at each other. Clayton Kershaw's first ever game in Fenway Park.
I mean, what's going to determine this match? The matchups in Fenway are going to be determined by the Green Monster. Mm-hmm. 3 people, I think, in that lineup three people in that lineup have only ever faced Chris Sale. Mm-hmm. Brian Dozier, David Freese, and one more, and I can't think of Manny Machado. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. Yeah, dirty player. I'll get into him later. But those are the only 3. So Chris Sale's got the advantage here, clearly, and I know he's coming off an illness. Since July 27th, he's thrown. None of his starts have gone more than 6 innings. But I still think the Red Sox are going to win. I think the Red Sox and that Green Monster are going to. I think the Red Sox win in 5. They could win in 4.
I mean, that's pretty bold.
I don't know if it's really a bold take. That lineup, 1-9.
Yeah,
it's pretty stacked.
They easily could run through. I mean, this Red Sox team. I've seen some people picking the Dodgers in this series, which I don't get it. But that's really the dynamic of this matchup. Is you've got a lot of hardcore fans on the West Coast, a lot of very hardcore fans on the East Coast. So whichever team they're behind, of course, they're going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to win. I think in terms of just this first game, a big benefit to the Red Sox is that there is one player in their lineup who's seen plenty of Kershaw, and that's J.D. Martinez. Not only has J.D. Martinez run into the Dodgers all or most of last year when he was with the Diamondbacks, he hit .450 against him, several home runs, plenty of RBIs. He had a lot of success against Clayton Kershaw. I think that's going to be a big determining factor, especially because you would think that with these two on the mound, it's going to be a stalemate for most of the time. I think J.D. Martinez, he's been having a great year, obviously got rewarded with that big contract. They brought him in to be a DH to replace David Ortiz's role. But I think he's going to be the one to watch tonight, is that Clayton Kershaw, someone he's familiar with, someone he's had a lot of success against. When it gets down to the wire, and these two have gone on a little bit longer, I think J.D. Martinez catches a hold of one and really breaks that tie, which is going to give them a lot of momentum early on in the season.
Yeah, and I
series.
know this is a stat not really many people look at, including myself, and I'm sure you probably have never looked at this stat I'm about to mention. Clayton Kershaw's ERA when first pitch is under 55 degrees is 2.84. Thanks ESPN for that stat, but I would have never known that, and it's going to be 51 at first pitch. But I still think the Red Sox are just going to – I think the Red Sox are going to light up Kershaw. Kind of similar to what the Brewers did in Game 1 of the NLCS when the Brewers were at home. They lit him up. Kershaw goes home. He throws phenomenal. But I just think the Red Sox, their bats are way too much for this series, and they proved that against the Astros, sweeping when they won 4-1. That lineup is just too deadly, and no one's going to – I don't think – you're going to see very many strikeouts with the Dodgers.
Well, let's take a step back and start recapping everything up until now. We'll come back, and at the very end, we'll give you our final predictions for the series and this game. But let's talk about sort of what's been going on before this. Brewers, obviously, it's a hard topic to bring up right now. So I guess we'll start with that. The Brewers and the Dodgers series ends in crushing defeat for the Brewers. Didn't really even get close in that last game. Kershaw comes in and finishes them off. What are your sort of reflections on the end of that NLCS?
For the Brewers, they should have been, and you might agree with this. They should have been sitting in the Fall Classic after Game 5, after that 13-inning game. There's no reason they should have lost at home if they don't give up that home run. I understand. Yeah, you got Jeffress. He gives up a home run. I think Counsell outsmarted himself. He was trying to play chess with Dave Roberts, but he outsmarted himself, and Dave Roberts was just playing simple ball. I think Counsell, in that series, in that game 2, going back to game 2, I understand Jeffress made it close game 1. Don't pitch in game 2. You got Burns. You got Hader. You could have pitched. I know Hader pitched game 1. I think he pitched an inning. You got Knebel. You got 3 quality guys right there, where if you can give Jeffress some rest, that can probably give you your last 4 outs, I believe it was. I mean, Wade Miley, he pulled him too soon. I think he could have let him keep going. If he could have gotten to 7, Hader and Burns and Knebel could have finished off 7-8, could have finished off 8 and 9. And they go to LA, and it's 1-1 going to LA. Brewers win first game. Should have won the 13-inning game. Made so many chances. Braun would get on base with a double, and then Aguilar would try to knock the cover off the baseball. Stop trying to knock the cover off the baseball, and you'll be fine. Score him. It's all. Just go back to Little League. Bunting. There was no bunting for the Brewers. Who cares? You bunt Jesus. You got Travis Shaw, Moose up behind him, Orlando Arcia. He would have been the NLCS MVP at the Brewers won because his hitting was incredible. But the Dodgers, I feel like they just kind of deserve to win that series. The Brewers are going to use that game as motivation to fuel them for next year.
And I think this all comes down to, for the Brewers, something we touched about a little earlier, and that's playoff experience. The Dodgers have been getting to that point for so long. And I think with the Brewers, because this is the first time they've really pushed up under this current regime, that's what they ran into this time.
And look at going back to not this past season, last season. The Brewers fell 1 game short of the playoffs. Now they fell 1 game short of the World Series. they're going to use this as fuel for fire to keep going. And I think the Brewers are in the World Series next year.
I mean, I think that there's some decisions they have to make because Moustakas, that's an expiring contract.
That's $15 million. I don't think they're going to bring him back.
Yeah, that's sort of the issue, is that there's some decisions that they need to make. I mean, Braun's going to be a year older, and of course, once this bullpen is going to get more expensive and whatnot, and they have to address their starting pitching somehow, which leaves questions as to who they bring in and how much they're willing to pay to really get in there.
There's so many pitchers that they have available, and people don't realize. Brandon Woodruff, Junior Guerra, Freddie Peralta, he was a rookie this year. Chase Anderson will be back. Zach Davies will be back. Corbin Burns, who was a reliever this year, is going to play a factor. There's just too many players for them to be a factor.
Yeah, but there are still decisions to be made.
There's plenty of decisions for David Stearns to make.
And if the Twins showed anything in the past couple of years, it's that playoff success in 1 year does not guarantee you that you'll continue to get there. But that's what you need to do, is you need to keep getting there in order to push forward.
Yep.
And so the Dodgers, really their perseverance and their ability to get pretty far in the playoffs but lose all this past couple of years, this is the year that it's paying off for them. They finally get that matchup. Just unfortunate for them, it's not maybe the matchup they want because they're playing a team that's been nearly unstoppable all year. So basically, to sort of wrap things up, what are your predictions for tonight's game between the Dodgers and Red Sox, which will be taking place very soon after this broadcast? And what are your predictions for the series overall?
I think tonight the Red Sox win. I think they shell Kershaw. I think Kershaw's gone after 6. Now that I'm saying that, he's going to probably throw a complete game because that's just announcer jinx, all that stuff. I think the Red Sox win 5-0. I think they win in 5. MVP of the series is either Mookie Betts or JD Martinez.
Okay, and then my prediction, going off what you said, is I'm saying that the Dodgers take this first game. I don't think a lot of people are saying that that's going to happen. I think that because everyone's like, oh yeah, it's a foregone conclusion that this first game is going to go to the Red Sox in Fenway, Sale versus Kershaw, I think the Dodgers find a way to win this first game, and then they get smoked the rest of the series. Red Sox in 5, 4-1, just like the Astros series. It's what happened there. Astros took the first game, couldn't touch them the rest of the series. I think that's the same thing that happens. The Red Sox need this first game to get a read on this team they're not experienced with, and so they maybe will end up stumbling in this first game. I think they lose the first game, then the Red Sox will know what they're dealing with, and they'll be able to handle them easily through the rest of the season. Red Sox in 5 games, I think JD Martinez is your World Series MVP.
Yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with that. Like I said, Mookie Betts or JD Martinez is going to have a heck of a series.
Yep, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Before we go, next week, NDSU basketball season starts already.
Yep, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that.
I'm sure we'll be talking about that too.
We'll definitely be talking about that. We'll be likely covering the World Series as it continues, and we'll see if it's over by then. Who knows? I mean, it's going to be a lot to look at, and we will be talking about it right here on X's and O's. We'll have plenty more to talk about, and we'll see you here next Tuesday.